In my previous video on memory and forgetting, we've learned the fundamental processes that govern how we encode, store, and retrieve memories. Today, we'll try to answer a question. How does power influence our memory system, especially in the context of leadership? Let's briefly revisit the basics. Our memory operates through three stages: encoding, storage, and retrieval. Encoding is the first step in memory formation. Here, our brain takes in external stimuli, everything from vivid visual images and distinct sounds to tactile sensations and even abstract thoughts. Each piece of information is converted into a neural code that our brain's circuits can process. It's like translating diverse languages of sensory input into a single, understandable language that our brain can store and use later. Once encoded, the information moves to storage. Think of this as saving a file on your computer. Some information stays in the short-term memory, readily available but easily erased. Other information is transferred to long-term memory, which is more like an enormous archive capable of storing immense volumes of data for much longer periods. The final stage is retrieval. This is where we access and pull out stored memories when needed. Retrieval can be triggered voluntarily, like remembering a password, or involuntarily, like recalling a song when you hear the first few notes. This stage is critical because it determines how we react to current situation based on past experiences. To understand how power influences memory, we first need to define what power is. Power is asymmetrical control over resources by allocating or withholding them. Power is not unique to humans. It's actually prevalent in the social structures of animals. Consider a group of monkeys. The alpha male, let's call him monkey number 1, enjoys exclusive privileges like mating rights. Another male, monkey 2, challenges this dominance because he's dissatisfied with the existing power structure. Their conflict escalates to a physical confrontation for dominance. If monkey number 1 loses, his behavior changes dramatically. He becomes noticeably withdrawn, avoiding the gaze and proximity of other troop members. His movements are slow and his usual assertiveness diminishes. Psychologically, those changes reflect stress and a reduction in confidence. Physically, monkey number 1's appearance changes. His testicles may change color from a vibrant blue to a dusty gray, which is a stark visual cue to others in the troops of his lost status. This color change is significant, acting as a signal to other monkeys that he is no longer a threat nor the alpha. Those behaviors are examples of involuntary yielding. It's a survival strategy. By signaling submission, monkey number 1 avoids further attacks from the new dominant male and other aggressive members of the group. This behavioral adaptation helps him to escape severe physical harm or even potential expulsion from the group. The term pecking order is a fascinating example of a social hierarchy observed in nature, specifically among chickens. This term captures how those birds establish a structured social system through direct interactions. In a flock, each chicken determines its rank through behaviors like pecking. The dominant chickens assert their status by pecking at those lower in the hierarchy, who in turn must accept those acts without retaliation. This hierarchy is important for maintaining order. It dictates access to important resources such as food and nesting spaces. When we apply the term pecking order to human social structure, we see similar dynamics. Humans often establish hierarchies that govern interactions and resource allocation within groups. In workplace environments, the pecking order can determine who contributes to decision-making, and how resources like budgets and office space are distributed. Those at the top of this hierarchy typically have greater authority and access to resources, influencing the group's overall dynamics. While power is often seen as a structural property in organizational hierarchy, it also has a psychological dimension. Power is not just about titles or positions. It can be a state of mind, a subjective feeling that can shape interactions and influence. This subjective feeling of a power mindset can be activated without a formal authority. Simple actions such as reading words associated with power or recalling a moment when you felt influential can activate this power mindset. In Game of Thrones, Varys astutely remarks to Tyrion Lannister, "Power resides where men believe it resides. It's a trick, a shadow on the wall, and a very small man can cast a very large shadow." This illustrates the idea that power is as much as about subjective feelings as it's about actual authority. Consider a casual gathering of friends. Often someone naturally takes the lead in organizing activities or making decisions, even when no formal rules assign this role. This individual's subjective sense of power influences their behavior and how others respond to them. Sometimes that subjective feeling of power can be overwhelming. Have you ever been in a situation where someone's presence seems to suck the oxygen out of the room? This can be a manifestation of a power mindset, where one's subjective feeling of power impacts the social dynamic. After defining power, let's look at how power influences our memory system. The encoding of memories is shaped by power through selective attention and the prioritization of information. Individuals in positions of power often enjoy the ability to focus selectively on information that they consider important. This luxury of selective attention ensures that information that reinforces a leader's goal or status is more likely to be remembered. It's a cognitive filter that de-emphasizes less relevant data, making the encoding of important information more effective. This is why you are more likely to remember your boss's directives and the comments of a low-status team member. Your brain encodes them differently based on the perceived importance and the relevance of the individual's power and goals. Power also influences what type of information are prioritized during the memory encoding process. Powerful people tend to process and encode information that supports their own narratives. For example, a manager may remember details that showcase their team's success, which in turn supports their leadership, while neglecting aspects that suggest shortcomings. People in power are more likely to remember successes than failures. The reason behind this is how power changes our cognitive processes. Powerful individuals have a natural inclination to encode memories that bolster their position as a decision-making prowess. This can lead to a skewed recollection of events where successes are vividly remembered and the failures are obscured. How does power influence the retrieval of memories? In addition to selective memory encoding, people in power often have enhanced capabilities to recall information that affirms their authority and supports their decision-making. This selective memory retrieval again emphasizes past successes and inflates their self-efficacy. What is self-efficacy? It is a person's belief in their own ability to succeed in specific situations or accomplish a task. It's about self-confidence. For those in positions of power, high self-efficacy means they are more likely to recall successes that reinforce their perception of competence. This inflated self-efficacy can sometimes create an illusion of competence. Competence is the actual ability, knowledge, or skills required to perform tasks successfully. It is an objective measure of capability, unlike self efficacy, which is subjective and can be disproportionately inflated among people in power. This discrepancy can lead to a gap between what someone believes they can do and what they are actually capable of doing. It is common to see powerful individuals believe in their own effectiveness, sometimes beyond what their actual performance would warrant. For example, a supervisor may remember leading a successful project and attribute the success solely to their leadership, overlooking the contributions of their team or external factors that played a role. Power skews memory retrieval toward a more favorable light. A significant challenge arises with the diminished recall of perspectives from those with less power. Leaders may overlook or undervalue the contribution and insights of low-ranking team members. This leads to a memory that omits important details and diverse viewpoints, which undermines leaders' decision quality. Power can profoundly influence how we remember events. It often leads to three self-serving memory errors: forgetting negative events, fabricating positive ones, and transforming negative memories into positive ones. Powerful individuals may unconsciously suppress memories of failures or mistakes. It's a cognitive filter that helps maintain a positive self-perception. Powerful individuals may also fabricate positive memories. They create, enhance, or entirely false memories of the success. For example, a supervisor may recall leading a project that was only marginally successful as a resounding triumph. Those fabricated memories are not always deliberate lies, but are often embellishments that make past actions look more favorable than they actually were. People in power can also transform negative memories into positive ones. Here, not only do powerful individuals forget memories, but they also remember those events as successes. For example, a director may reinterpret a critical feedback session as a constructive praise, reshaping the memory to reflect a more competent and capable self-image. Those memory errors can create a skewed perception of reality, leading to overconfidence and even hubris. While memory errors might bolster self-assurance, they also risk making leaders blind to their actual performance and the contributions to their teams. This is why we often encounter leaders who display overconfidence and hubris rather than genuine humility. True humility in leadership is a genuine acknowledgement of one's own limitations and the important contribution of others. It's about leaders who listen more than they speak, who value others' ideas, and who are not afraid to admit mistakes or share credit. It's not a performative act where leaders claim to be unhumbled, only to segue into self-aggrandizement. After learning how power influences our memory, think about the ways in which power may have shaped your own recall and perceptions. Are there areas where you could challenge your own memory errors? Every decision we make is an opportunity to lead better, to learn, and to grow. By acknowledging the influence of power on our memory system, we can strive to make decisions of high quality.